It didn't start with fireworks. It started with silence. A long, heavy silence across the Commons floor. As the final vote count came in, Labour, crushed. The benches that once echoed with jeers and back-patting arrogance had fallen quiet. Nigel Farage didn't shout. He didn't gloat. He stood, looked across the chamber, and nodded. The silent nod of a man who didn't just win, he ended something. A political era, a decades-long power structure, gone, just like that. And the moment it became official, Parliament erupted. Cheers from the right, disbelief from the left, papers slammed down, faces buried in hands. A revolt at the ballot box had just kicked the Labour Party out of the Commons core, and Farage was now leading the reckoning. Before we dive into what just happened and what it means for Britain's future, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We bring you real-time reports that the mainstream press buries or delays. You're watching Precious Update, where the truth doesn't wait. Let's be crystal clear, this wasn't a close contest. This wasn't a technicality or a minor by-election upset. This was a historic voter revolt, tens of millions standing up and saying, enough. Enough of Labour's excuses. Enough of their polished lies. Enough of the endless scandals, the double standards, the fake apologies, and enough of Keir Starmer, the man who promised to rebuild trust and instead oversaw the slow implosion of an entire political movement. The final tally showed it all. Safe Labour seats, gone. Constituencies they had controlled for over half a century, flipped. Working-class strongholds turning purple as the Reform UK wave crashed through the north, the Midlands, and even slices of London. What Nigel Farage just pulled off wasn't a protest. It was a political earthquake. And while the media clings to phrases like populist surge or radical backlash, let's not pretend this wasn't earned. Let's not pretend the people hadn't been warning them for years. From ignored migrants flooding small towns, to farmers being strangled by eco-bureaucracy, to scandals buried under NDAs and court delays, the people watched, and they remembered, and this week, they voted with fury. Inside Parliament, it was nothing short of chaos. Moments after the numbers were confirmed, senior Labour MPs began storming out. One even shouted across the floor, "This is madness. No, it's democracy. It's the people finally flipping the table on a party that stopped listening long ago." And in the middle of it all, standing tall with his party behind him, was Nigel Farage, calm, collected, and in control. Reports from inside the Commons suggest Keir Starmer refused to speak after the result. He walked out of the chamber flanked by aides, refusing to answer any questions from the press. Some insiders claim he was furious, shouting behind closed doors, blaming advisors, speechwriters, even blaming the public for being manipulated. But the truth is, this was his doing. He underestimated just how fed up the country really was. And what's most remarkable, this isn't the end, it's the beginning, because for the first time in modern UK political history, Labour isn't the main opposition force. They've been displaced by a populist tidal wave that's no longer fringe, no longer dismissed, it's now in the seats of power. And Farage isn't just a political personality anymore, he's a parliamentary force with a mandate from the public. Let's ask the uncomfortable question, how did it come to this? How did Labour, once the party of the working class, the voice of the unions, the defenders of the everyman, become a hollow machine parroting EU think tanks and World Economic Forum scripts? How did they end up mocking the very people who put them into power, calling them bigots, anti-progress, uneducated? They forgot who they served, and the people didn't forget that betrayal. And don't think this revolt came out of nowhere. It's been building for years, from Brexit betrayal to lockdown hypocrisy, from grooming gang cover-ups to weaponized hate speech laws, from taxpayer-funded nonsense to selective outrage about foreign wars while British veterans sleep on concrete. Voters saw it all. They waited, and when the ballot was put in front of them, they didn't hesitate. Sources close to the Speaker's office said there were heated exchanges behind the scenes after the announcement. At least 3 Labour MPs are said to be considering immediate resignation, with one quoted as saying, "This is a collapse, not a transition." Civil servants are scrambling to rebrief committee structures. Foreign embassies have already reached out requesting clarification on the new parliamentary balance. That's how big this is. And for those asking whether Farage can handle it, he's not just handling it, he's thriving. In his first address after the Commons shock, he didn't gloat. He thanked the voters, promised accountability, and said plainly, "I serve at your pleasure. I'm not here to rule. I'm here to represent." That alone sent a shockwave. When's the last time a politician said that, and meant it? Meanwhile, Labour's meltdown continues. Keir Starmer has reportedly called an emergency crisis summit with remaining party leadership. Anonymous leaks from within the party reveal that major donors are pulling out. Social media has exploded with hashtags like #LabourCollapse, #FarageVictory, and #Commons Takeover trending nationwide. One former Labour strategist even admitted on air, "We laughed at Farage. We didn't listen. Now we've lost everything." In constituencies across the country, the message was echoed loud and clear. One voter in Barnsley South told reporters, "We gave Labour 30 years. All we got was empty promises and no jobs. Farage listened." Another from Sunderland said, "They called us racists for wanting borders. Farage gave us a voice again." This wasn't about charisma. This wasn't about slogans. This was about power returning to the people, and the political elite watching their monopoly evaporate. What happens next? That's the real question, because Farage now holds serious leverage in the Commons, with dozens of seats under his control and Labour in disarray. Every vote, every motion, every budget, it's now a negotiation, and for the first time in decades, the establishment can't just steamroll policy through. What will happen to Labour? Will Starmer step down? Will the party fracture into centrist and hard-left factions again? Some are already whispering about replacements, others are calling for full rebranding. But one thing's certain, they're no longer the automatic opposition. Reform UK, under Farage, is now the party millions trust to say what others are too afraid to. And let's not ignore the international impact. EU officials have reportedly requested briefings on the new Commons leadership dynamics. Financial markets had a jittery morning, with UK political risk rising on international trackers. And yet, the public is celebrating. Flags waving in the streets, pubs packed, voices chanting "Britain's back." Because it's not just about seats, it's about hope. Hope that government can reflect the people again. Hope that agendas won't be decided in Brussels boardrooms or Davos hotels. Hope that politicians will fear the voters, not the other way around. Starmer has fallen from grace, not because of one scandal or one speech, but because he lost the room, lost the nation, and in that vacuum, someone who actually listened rose up and took the floor. Today, the Commons looks different, the tone is different, and Britain's future? That's no longer scripted by the usual suspects. So here we are, the beginning of something new, not perfect, not polished, but real, and after years of gaslighting and betrayal, real might just be what this country needs most. If this report mattered to you, don't just scroll on, leave a like, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe. We don't follow the narrative, we follow the truth, no matter who it upsets. You're watching Real News. You're watching Precious Update.